Hello, class. This is Lane Harvey, and this is my leadership action plan. A little bit of background about myself. I'm from a small town called Sidney, Nebraska. A town of about 7,000 people, primarily farming community. So you learn what hard work and how to form a good work ethic at a young age. In my town, it's a small town where everybody knows each other, so you learn to respect each other. Um, I have a lot of family values. I come from a big family where I was the youngest in the family, so I had a lot of people I looked up to, a lot of role models. I was raised in a family full of athletes, so I had a lot of expectations being the youngest. One of those people I looked up to a lot was my grandpa. He used to always drop me off at the community center when I was a kid to play basketball, and he used to always tell me, "Don't just shoot it to make it." And that's kind of a quote that I use to this day to remind myself to not do things half-heartedly and put my all into everything. How to use authentic leadership. I'll do this by committing my I will statements that I discussed in my code of ethics assignment. Few of these are I will lead by example, I will earn trust and respect, I will embrace hard work, I will show unconditional love, and overall, I will just rely on my morals that I was raised upon, uh, the values that I believe in that got me to where I am today and made me into the man I am right now. Congruency within my code of ethics. So, my code of ethics were surrounded by respect, trust, hard work, perseverance, and love. So, how do I match my style with my code of ethics? I do this by practicing what I preach. My actions must coincide with my approach. So, all of these five foundational traits that I have in my code of ethics, I'm basically trying to instill to my players so that they can form their own version of their own code of ethics, but they can use it based off these values. So, I use the word players because my community of interest is the Washburn University baseball program. Currently, I'm a graduate assistant and I'm the infield coach, and I'm also in charge of the strength and conditioning for the program. So, a few boundaries within the program. So, boundaries are a necessity. No matter what you do, you have boundaries. Um, it should be your goal to break down these boundaries in order to learn and adapt to your program, your business, whatever you're doing, boundaries are a necessity. Few boundaries in the baseball program is our work ethic. We're trying to get everybody to work hard, not the majority, not most of the guys. We want everybody working the same amount. Personalities, you have a group of 18 to 22-year-old kids that you got to mesh together to form a good team cohesiveness. Academics, the no pass, no play policy, and then the student athlete versus general population dynamic, which is a little bit larger scale dynamic, especially here at Washburn. There's a big gap between these two groups. I think the student athletes could take an initiative by closing this gap by being more supportive in the general population's um, events. If they hold an event on campus, student athletes should take it upon themselves to go support these people in these groups like the general population supports the athletic program. Nexus of interaction. Generative leadership lives in the nexus where the webs of the social networks of individual contributions coalesce. That is, the entire concept is based on the influence that arises between people, not from a person. So primarily, this is between the coaching staff and the players. The head coach is going to direct his message and his philosophy to the team, and the goal is to create an environment where players can lead and where generative leadership can thrive and evolve naturally. Voice for diversity and interaction resonance. A vital interconnection is one characterized by what we call interaction resonance, which signifies a richness of information flow that is generated and maintained through interactions over time. So basically, this is an example of voices earned through action. You got to practice what you preach. You can't try to be a leader when you don't do everything that you're expected of, when you don't work hard all the time. You can't try to tell guys what to do. You got to practice what you preach. Interaction resonance is used by leaders to establish the team's values from a player-to-player perspective. Once this foundation is established among players, new standards may start being set within the entire organization. Symbiotic relationships. These are mutually beneficial to both parties. So within the program, we have a coach-to-player relationship, which is coaches give players the opportunity to lead, and then player-to-player. Players reiterate top-level leadership to their peers. Every player has a role and are all equally important to the entire team, no matter if you're a starter, if you're a bench guy, if you're a reliever. Everybody has a role, and the teams that are most successful probably have guys that embrace their roles. They're not worried about their personal success. They're more worried about the team's success. Period of equilibrium. Currently, Washburn is in a state of equilibrium. We have an experienced team, especially with COVID. We had a lot of juniors and seniors come back for an extra year of eligibility since the NCAA granted that. We have updated facilities. We have a brand new indoor facility, brand new turf infield, and resodded outfield. As you can see from the picture, there's a picture of all those facilities. We have great team chemistry, partly because of the experience we have on the team. Bought in is kind of our team slogan. We're all BODs, and we're all pulling in the same direction. We should all be bought in. We also have a good incoming recruiting class. We're currently ranked 31st in the nation in D2, which is a good feat for us. Good goal for us to have to continue to do that every year with our incoming guys. About 3 years ago, Washburn baseball was in a state of disequilibrium. This is my senior year when I was still a player. We did not have great team chemistry. We had a lot of selfish guys that ultimately ended up keeping us from our ultimate team goals. And then we never got to be the team we wanted to be because of these selfish acts. So encouraging positive deviance. Part of what I just talked about with the disequilibrium a few years ago was we didn't have guys that conformed to norms. You got to have norms on the team, and you got to have total buy-in and conformity to these norms. Every now and then, we will run into problems with guys, and in most cases, they're junior college transfers because they've already played college baseball for a couple of years. They've done things their own way for a lot of years now, so it's tough to get them to conform to these norms that we have set as a team sometimes. But you combat this by recruiting good kids, not just good baseball players. You do that by being transparent and setting your expectations early in the recruiting process. You don't want to lie to kids. You want to tell them exactly how it is in the program, exactly what you expect of their players, and give them the total rundown of what to expect if they come to Washburn. If they buy into what you tell them, then they'll probably be successful. Social networks, we have a lot of different team profiles at Washburn. Each sport has their own profile. We have one on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We use it to promote WU in our program. We use it to recruit. We use it to monitor our players' activities, make sure they're being respectful on their platforms, and also for developmental ideas from our coaching peers, new practice ideas, ideas for drills, etc. And I also have a personal profile that I use to represent WU. I use it to recruit on, and I use it for my personal use as well as find developmental ideas for practice and drills. Micro, meso, and macro systems. So just talking about practice, I'm going to use baseball practice as an example. So within one of our practices, the micro, mesa, and macro systems are all used. So at the beginning of practice, you have your micro, which is your personal interactions, your individual relationships within the team, player to player, coach to coach, or coach to player relationships. Then you have your meso, which is your group interactions of all infielders on the team, position-specific drills, throwing, etc. So within practice, each position group will split into their own groups. Outfielders, infielders, pitchers will all split up. They'll do position-specific stuff, and that'll be our meso system within our practice time. And then at the end of practice, we have our macro system, which is our team scrimmage or our meeting at the end of practice where the interaction is with the group as a collective, is a collective group interaction. And it's primarily the head coach speaking to the team. Leveraging my strengths. So I'll use the weight room as an example for this. I was recently put in charge in there, and one of the things I was going to do that I made sure to do was bring energy for the guys to feed off of. I was going to create a good environment, good positive environment where I was going to encourage them and I was going to lead by example. I'm going to show them how to do the workouts. I'm going to make sure they're doing the workouts correctly in order for them to stay healthy and create good habits in the weight room. And I do that by showing care for the players' health and development, making sure they're doing things correctly. And when they do things correctly, it maximizes their potential to reach their new goals. Promoting generative leadership. You do this by earning trust through hard work. You got to help players understand their own potential by pushing them beyond their comfort zone. One of the quotes I like to use is become comfortable feeling uncomfortable. You got to make yourself feel uncomfortable every once in a while in order to push yourself to break down personal barriers. Motivation is a big part of this. Motivating players to break down personal barriers so they can in turn motivate their peers to do the same. If a younger player sees an older guy killing it in the weight room and doing a really good job breaking down his personal goals, then it motivates him to do the same. Hard work is contagious. That's that domino effect. Creating an ecology of innovation, increase energy flow across all boundaries. So I'm going to use the weight room as an example again. When I took over recently, I brought a new energy and new expectations to the program in the weight room. I took our program and modified it a little bit to make it more economical to the players, made it easier for them to go in there and be motivated to get their work in because the workout's enticing. It should be motivating, and it should get them to go in there and want to work hard. And I did this by setting a new standard and breaking down old boundaries. I set the standard and told them from the beginning, we're going to work harder than we used to in here, so get used to it. And the first week was a little rough, but after that, it goes by quick once guys start to buy into it. Leading emergence, the essence of innovation and organization. So emergence within my community of interest happens when players take it upon themselves to control the team. New expectations are set and new norms are established in the community. So we set the norms that we want the team to follow, and then it's on those leaders of the teams to take those norms to different heights and to personalize those norms. We want everybody to be bought in to our expectations, but we also want guys to stay motivated personally and do things their own personal way. Novelty. The game of baseball has seen little change over the years, but the way players are developed in general has adapted to the current times. Everything is way more technology based for instant feedback, whether it's hitting, throwing, fielding. There's radars and devices that you can use to get instant feedback and more numbers than you know what to do with. Sometimes it's eyewash and sometimes it's useful feedback, but teams are all using this type of new information to get to the same end goal, which is winning games and winning championships. It's just being done in a lot of different ways this year, or in this day and age. Smart networks. Smart networks combine the coherence that comes from within densely connected networks with the innovation that can come from peripheral connections. Basically, what this is saying is combine the best culture guys you have on your team, take those guys and combine them with great incoming recruits. So everything that you have, all the conformity that you've established within your team and all the leaders that you have bought into your process, combine those guys with good individuals coming into the program. You do this by eliminating your culture killers. We call it getting rid of the bad eggs and bringing in good eggs. Get rid of the guys that don't care to conform and don't care for team success, and bring in the guys that want to get better individually, but for the overall team success. You got to recruit good human beings who are also impact players. So to conclude this, I'll discuss the new strategies I've derived from my crucible moment. So my crucible moment was failing at the Division I level. I started out going to junior college. I committed to a D1 university where that was my ultimate goal. I was ecstatic to go there, and then it didn't work out how I wanted to work out. I ended up transferring to Washburn after 1 year at my Division I school, and it was a big humbling experience for me. I didn't want to accept that I had to move schools, but it was something that I had to do, and it was one of the tougher moments in my life as an athlete and just as a human being. A few things I learned from that was it humbled me. It made me realize that change is okay, and it made me swallow my pride. I had to step away from something that I was committed to for a really long time, and I had to go in a different direction. Something that I'll take from that and move on in my life is the ability to accept change. Can't be afraid to take a risk, whether you're comfortable with it or not, and to rely on others who you can trust. Sometimes I like to do things on my own more than I should. You got to surround people that you can trust, and so you can rely on them to help you reach your ultimate goal. And I'll leave you with this quote: "People who attain the skills required to conquer adversity and emerge stronger and more committed than ever are the same ones that make for extraordinary leaders." People that don't accept mediocrity and move on and try to be the best person they can be by breaking down barriers are ultimately the best leaders in life. Thank you.